It was all the same place. So this used to be Mary Jane's Fabrics that your grandparents have, and they bought it from Mary Jane, who's also an artist. And you may remember in our house we have a barn painting. It's the Rosenbaum barn of Satellite Capistrano, and Mary Jane painted that, and your grandmother got it for us as a memory. But anyway, they own the store, and as you said in the video, she had sewing classes, and my dad used to repair sewing machines. They were partnered together in that. I think it was both stores. I remember going in here. Right here was an insurance office, and the guy that owned this whole complex here. Forget his Holcomb, Mr. Holcomb. I put some of this tile in a couple of our houses. That's famous. And behind you, that's up where it says Hobie Surf Shop, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, that was a drugstore, and that building looks different. But I remember Hobie, before he was famous, he dropped by one day and showed me some foam stuff in the back of his truck. And I told you the surfboards were made out of redwood. And he said, I'm going to make surfboards that has this foam in the middle. I said, that'll never work, it'll fall apart. But anyway, he ended up having a surfboard making shop in Dana Point, plus other places, and for a long time was the biggest surfboard maker on the West Coast. But he started those boards, smaller boards that had foam inside. This was, I remember, was a vacant lot, and it was a UA bank, built into a UA bank. And we used to have, on Halloween, people in trucks with flatbeds with screens and slides on them. They'd have helmets on, and they'd toss their ink balloons out. And a couple of these buildings, like right over there, had water spouts, so those of us that are on that side, we could fill up our balloons right there, so we had a bigger supply. I didn't always put ink in the balloons, but we'd toss them back. And the police let it go. In fact, one of them was worked part-time on the police, but he was a Marine at Camp Pendleton, a sergeant. He participated. He was on our side. He was also our lead trumpet player in the San Clemente band. I was the lead trombone. And so another event here, we would parade, walk up, and later on, we'd have a big flatbed trailer, and we'd set the band on top of that. So we'd just sit and be towed up here, go up the street, turn left, go down El Camino Real, up El Camino Real to the park across the street. I think it was Fiesta. It's called, it's the Fiesta grounds anyway, across from the grammar school I went to earlier. My favorite place though was the Cornet 5 and Dime that was right there. That's where I'd get my nickel candy. And most of the time I'd remember to pay for it. It's a totally different building. Anyway, that's what I remember from this street. There are other places like one of my high school friends, Betty Lee Geronimo, she had a gift shop over here. I think either Beach City's Real Estate or the one next to it, across the street from my mom. They were good friends. Up the street there was Sam's shoe store. You used to get shoes there. And across the street there was Berg's, or right next to it actually, there was a clothing shop. So I get like sport coats and stuff there. Max Berg, by the way, was the city manager for that time. Since 1953, Sound Shoe Store. That's where I used to buy my shoes. And there was a clothing store on either side of it. Berg's. The guy that worked at the shoe store, Don, and I'll think of his last name later, he was another trumpet player in our band, and his daughter Donna was in the same class as I was in high school. And you know, I'm just having a memory warp on the name. She's a tiny little girl. Good person. So was her father, really great. He's very active in the community. He may have been clerk in the Surf shoe store, but he's very popular, very active in the community. Hello.
Help you out with.
I bought a pair of shoes here for my high school graduation in 1960, and the soles are kind of getting worn out. I think I should get them fixed.
You missed the warranty by a year.
Okay, I'm Darrell.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Hi, Mike. So that's all. I'm sorry to bother you. This was my favorite place. The only place I ever bought
it. Yeah, we're
shoes.
second generation now, so.
So this place was owned by the Taberries?
Yeah, still does. Second, Dad's gone now, but we're second generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about Maria? I haven't seen her on Facebook for a while.
That's
Maria Taberry.
Yeah, that's Carl's daughter?
Yeah, probably,
I guess,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk with her.
She was a couple of years behind me in high school.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's a true story, except I have no idea where those shoes are or whether the soles wore out. But I did buy them here for my high school graduation. So I'm not sure where the clothing store was. This looks like an older establishment. It might have been here, but I'm not positive.
Oh, at the outlet mall here.
It says a historic city hall. It wasn't a historic city hall when I lived here. It was the city hall. And I got to sit in there one day as the co-mayor of San Clemente in 1956, representing Las Palmas. Next to it where it says Compass, that was the little Bank of America building, and the vice president, whose name I'm forgetting right now, but he was famous in the community, he used to sit right by the window, so you could drive by or walk by and wave at him. John, and I'll remember sometime what his name was. And his son was in the same grade of school as I was. Next door where it says sit and sleep, you can see over there, that was the Seashore Cafe. And that was very popular they didn't have a freeway here. That freeway wasn't built until the early 60s. So this was El Camino Real. This was the main north-south highway. Sunday nights it was, a parking lot going both ways. But anyway, guys that were on buses, like musicians like Ernest Tubb and his Texas Troubadours, used to stop and eat dinner there. And your grandmother was the hostess. Other people, the wrestlers, used to stop there. I used to meet guys like Mr. Model. He was a famous wrestler at the time. When I was a little kid, we lived in Hemet. I met Gorgeous George and Wild Red Barry. But the later generation of wrestlers, the most popular was Mr. Model. And he used to love coming here, and he was very affable. He talked to everybody. Very good. Gone down the street. The buildings are about the same, but they've all changed the type of businesses they're in. And at the other end of it, your grandparents had the fabric store, Mary Jane's Fabric. Around the corner here, Henry Kano had a flower shop, and your grandmother went to work for him as a florist for a long time before they bought the fabric shop. There's not much else to say about this, but think of it being, we didn't have a freeway, that was the road. It's sort of like, you can get an idea if you go on PCH sometime, because that's part of the same road. This was PCH. And it used to have, it was the original Spanish trail, so we used to have those little bell-shaped signs, light signs that marked the old Spanish trail, El Camino Real. That's it.